Hey everybody, welcome back to Why Not RV. On this week's episode, we're going to go ahead and adjust our landing gear for the rig's proper height. Remember, if you want to learn more and make less mistakes while RVing, be sure to hit that subscribe button, drop a like and a comment down below. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Today was the day. I finally had enough of it. Ever since I got this Montana, the landing gear was, to me, it just felt a little low. Every time I looked at it, I was like, man, that just seems really, really low. And then there was plenty of times on our trip out to Colorado and out to Washington that I thought, it's gonna hit, and it didn't, but man, I got real close a lot. Because we do a lot of boondocking. We stay at a lot of harvest hosts, which means we stay at a lot of farms, distilleries, wineries, all these places that aren't really built for RVs, especially this size. So what happened was, finally today, I had enough, and it's because when we were pulling out of our harvest host, where the road met the driveway was just this little hump, and it was just enough to drag my middle landing gear, the one right in front of the front tire back there. And thank God it didn't bend anything, didn't break anything, but what it did do was it knocked it a little bit, out of canter, whatever you want to call it. It tilted it back a little bit, and I thought to myself, man, if that was literally just 1 inch higher, it would not have drug. So today's the day. We're finally doing it. I'm going to go ahead and raise these landing gear. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing to do it and how I'm determining how high I want them. Bandit being a good boy. Yeah, you being a good boy in there. Good boy. So as you can see, so this is our, we'll call it the mid landing gear. It's the one that's right in front of the rear axles. And on the other side is the one that bent. But I mean, look at how low this thing is. This came from the factory like this. We are parked on grass right now, and I can fit my fist under there, maybe a little bit more, but I mean, we're talking like 4 or 5 inches off the ground when we're in a softer soil environment, like grass, dirt, sand, stuff like that. Now when you're on hard pavement and gravel, yeah, it's not really that big of a deal, but I mean, look how close that thing is. Look at it. I mean, it's like right stinking there. It's just, it's basically on the ground. And same thing with the rear one. I mean, look at how low that is. It's the same thing. It's so low to the ground, and it makes me nervous all the time. So we're raising them up. For me, there's a couple things that I'm using to determine how high I want them. A lot of it is based off of personal experience as to where we've been in all these different harvest hosts and locations. And I know, what's drug and what hasn't. And for example, I know that I have never drug my sewer cap as of yet, or my sewer outlet as of yet. So what I'm doing is I'm raising this landing gear up to basically just right under the sewer outlet right there. Okay, so I know that now, that one is going to be pretty much the same as the sewer, giving me a lot more height. I can still go up a little bit more if I needed to, but we're going to try it here first and see if I have any issues going down the road. Again, the front ones, I just raised them up technically as high as they could go because that's really all I had left. Now the back is a whole nother story. What I want you to do is try and picture a straight line from this rear bumper, or the lowest point on the RV, which would be the hitch right here. So imaginary line from there all the way down to the base of the tire. Okay, that imaginary line, in theory, should not ever drag, right? So like your spare tire is above that line, so it shouldn't drag. My landing jack, which I've already raised up on this side, is now above that imaginary line and should not ever drag. I probably raise this up 1 bolt higher than it ever needs to be. I could probably lower this down a little bit, but again, I want to start a little bit high. I can go ahead and lower that back down just a little bit because you just never want to be too careful. But let me show you the other side where I have not raised the jack yet, and you'll see that imaginary line and how that jack is below that line. So again, picture yourself an imaginary line coming off the lowest point back here, which is the hitch, and drawing an imaginary straight line down to the bottom of the tire. Okay, and that landing gear to me is right on the edge of that line. I mean, it is like it's too low. It's too low for my comfort. I'm raising it up. Now, again, the other side, I raised it quite a bit higher. You see there's 4 bolts available, and I raised it up to only have 1 bolt left. That might be a little bit too high, but I'd rather start high and come back down. You can see on these ones we have 4 bolt holes here on the side, so it can get raised up quite a bit. Now up here on the front we only have 1 space more to go, but I am going to go and lift them up. I've been pretty comfortable with the fronts. There's only been a couple times where I thought they were going to drag, but it's really those back ones that were really concerning me. But we're still going to go ahead and raise these up just that 1 bolt hole and see how things go. I can always change it later on down the road. The process for raising these is actually really, really simple. You just have to know your rig and what kind of stuff you have up above it. So like, for example, in this case, this is going into my propane bay. It has all the room in the world going up, which again, we're only raising it to that next notch, which is probably 2 inches. But all we're gonna do is we're gonna loosen the 6 bolts, and there's a nut on the back side of each one of them. We're gonna lift it up and put them back in and tighten them back down. That's really it. So let's get right to it. Every RV is gonna be different, but in my situation, these are 19mm bolts. All right, I have them all completely off and loose. And now what we're gonna do is, because these things are kind of heavy, I'm gonna hold it up, take my last one out, raise it up. So as you can see, we have bolt holes here that line up, but let me go ahead and move this out of the way here. There you go. You can see that there's actually twice as many holes along the side as there are in the front, and that's for a finer adjustment. So you can adjust these by 1 inch instead of by 2 inches. And I'm just assuming these are about 2 inches, but just so you know, and this is just on my RV, my frame. I'm not gonna talk about yours, but just so you know, there are options there. All right, so now I got a couple bolts down here. I'm just gonna go ahead and feed a few more in and get some nuts just started on here. With all these loose, I can still go ahead and adjust it if I really want to. You see how I can move it? So I think right there looks pretty straight. So we're gonna go ahead and tighten down those 2 opposing ones, and now I can start to tighten up the rest. Now I got them all tight from the impact. I'm going to go ahead and take my actual wrench. Now the proper thing to do here is to look up the torque spec, which I will go ahead and put on the screen right here, and tighten these down to the proper torque spec that Lippert says to do. I don't have a torque wrench with me, so right now I'm just going to tighten them up real good, about the same as they were when I took them off. And when I get to Michigan here in a few days, I will go ahead and get a torque wrench and get them set proper. Due to this being the exact same process on all 6 landing gear, I'm not going to show you how to unbolt and rebolt each one. That's pretty simple to do. You can see that they're all done now, and this mid jack and rear jack, I did go ahead and lower back down 1 bolt hole, so you can see that I raised it up 2 from its original spot, but I did bring it back down a little bit because when you are doing this, you have to consider how far extended the jack is going to be, and with it being up that 1 extra bolt hole, they were just really stretched out, so it wasn't really making it very stable, so I brought them back down just a little bit. That's it for this week's episode. I hope you guys learned something. Again, this is just my personal experience of what I'm doing for my rig based on the situations that I've been in the past and my comfort level. Again, I might lower them down in the rear a little bit as time goes on. Right now, I'd rather just be a little bit more safe than sorry. So hope you learned something. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, click the subscribe, turn on the notification bell, comment down below. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching Why Not RV. Bye.